What's good, everybody? It's Kobe Bowie back again for another video. And if you guys recall, in my last video I talked about deferred hope, and that the scripture we used was deferred hope makes the heart sick, but when the desire comes, it's a tree of life. And I want to use today to kind of bridge into a similar direction, but more so towards like current circumstances individually. And the main point is basically like don't despise where you are now in life. Embrace everything that you have now, your experiences, your everything that's around you. Be where you are, and don't be discontent because you aren't somewhere else. Because when you do that, you just get caught up in this never-ending race to like keep up with the Joneses, or try to be like somebody that you desire to be, like an idol or something like that. And it's really unhealthy. It's depressing over time. I know that from experience. But yeah, you want to establish a healthy balance in having a desire and being where you are now realistically. And I'm a dreamer myself, so I tend to veer towards I get to the line where realistic and like dreams, like I always fluctuate within that line. But that's just how I've been raised up. That's how my mother raised me to be, in that I couldn't accomplish anything, set my mind to it and all of that. And ultimately I believe that I can, but God has revealed to me that you can accomplish those things and do those things through me. Not just saying that you'll get the power through me, but you'll get the opportunity, the perspective, and the understanding of what you're doing from me. So yeah, man. So like the number one way to establish that balance, like if you're off track, like I've been a lot recently, is to fix your eyes on Jesus, and He will bring that light back into your life to where you can see where you're going. You can see, He can show you the blueprint of who He's molding you to be. Whenever we don't look at Jesus and try to figure out what He's saying to us, like what is His lesson, and just how can we be righteous through Him, through our faith in every circumstance. Whenever we don't do that, we question things from like a victim mindset. So like, for example, why do I have to be single now, or why do I have to be married now even, which is kind of crazy to my mind, but it's a real thing. Or like, why don't I have a car now, or this certain car, why don't I have it now, a big house, friends on high places, whatever it may be. You just question it from a very selfish and self-centered, well, that, I guess that means the same thing, but you question it from a place where it's just you, like it's not considering any other circumstance or thing outside of you. And but when you look at Jesus, He's considering all of that. He's considering that, okay, and I'm just going to use myself for example, just from what I kind of mentioned earlier. He's saying like, I understand like a wife is something that you want, that you really desire strongly, but I see everything that you don't see right now, and other than outside of everybody else, I see the posture of your heart and how you're dealing with things that will require, if you're, hold on, sorry, how you're dealing with certain circumstances now isn't the way I'm gonna have you deal with it if you have somebody in your life. Like, I have to build your emotional intelligence. I have to build your faith. I have to mold you and work on you and chisel you into the person that is ready to have another individual in their life. Because at the end of the day, that's like the very, what's to say, that's probably the most challenging relationship to have in life. Probably the hardest thing to do, because this is somebody, it's like your life is no longer just yours. Like you're one with somebody else. So you have to be considerate. You have to, you know, you have to operate with somebody on your side when it's always just been you. And one thing that God has told me, he said, enjoy and grow in being just you. Like, you don't need somebody else to grow. You don't need, excuse me. Yeah, you don't need to have a person in your life to get to where I want you to go. You know, it does say, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. But, and obtains favor, but you can still obtain my favor, just from having a direct relationship with me. So, but yeah, that was just a personal example of, just having desire and being kind of humble to a point to where you have to say, okay, God, I finally get it. I get that you want me to be content. You want me to look at things from a grateful mindset instead of a victim mindset. And we ultimately accomplish that, like I said, when we look at Jesus. So I actually have the scripture for that. Hope everybody's holding up good in the midst of everything's going on right now. As I turn to this scripture, know it's a lot of craziness going on and stuff, but stay encouraged, keep grinding, keep moving, keep loving yourself. And the scripture is Hebrews 12:2. If I can get to it. Okay, it says, wherefore, seeing we also are compassed with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which does so. Oh, that's verse 1, guys. But I'll keep reading it. Lay aside every weight and the sin which does so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us, looking unto Jesus, verse 2, the author and the finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. Yeah, so, man, just a little interpretation of that is, like I was saying earlier, looking at things and trying to see what God is saying through everything that's going on. Like, what's his message? What can you hear through his word? Like, when you talk to him and pray, when you try to do everything to please him. And that's one thing that Jesus said himself. He said, I seek to do the will of my Father, and all those things which please him. So I have another verse too. Two more verses, actually. And the second one is 1 Timothy 4:8. And it says, for bodily exercise profiteth a little, but godliness is profitable unto all things, having promise of the life that now is, and of that which is to come. And I'm reading the King James Version, so it might sound a little weird, but in another translation it says, like, godliness plus contentment is great gain. But yeah, this is for everybody. It's for everybody, but in particularly, those who work out and exercise, are athletes, like myself. And I saw a way we could apply this, because when I first entered college, I was like a skinny, real skinny guy. I'm still not that big of a guy, but I was real skinny and didn't put much on the bench rack or whatever. But now, you know, I'm stronger than I've ever been, and I'm kind of swole, I can say. I'm still getting bigger or whatever, but uh, a lot of times I kind of looked down on myself because I wasn't, you know, as swole as somebody else, or some of the upper class baseball players. Um, but I wasn't. When I look back, I wasn't content with where I was as a freshman, and yeah, that's just another personal example of, you know, not being content in where you are, and it can make you not focus on where you're headed, like the direction that God has you. And ultimately, focusing on pleasing God is the most important thing. And luckily, I was able to grasp that my freshman year of college, and keep building on it to where, you know, I don't really struggle with it as much. Because it's good, like I said earlier, it's good to have a healthy desire of where you want to be physically. But, you know, be content with where you are. And finally, Philippians 4:11-13, which is a very popular section of scripture for good reason. And it says, "Not that I have in respect of want, for I have learned in whatever state I am to be content. I know how both to be abased, and I know how to abound, and everywhere and in all things instructed, both to be full and to be hungry, and to abound, both to abound and to suffer need. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." Yeah, the last verse was probably the most popular verse in our time, most quoted verse at least. But this couple scriptures before, Paul was just talking about he's experienced, you know, different levels, different circumstances and situations. Like he said, I know how to be abased, or to be with little, or lack, and I know how to abound and have plenty. But ultimately, God has taught him, and he's teaching us how to be content in every state. So, like, being content with being single, or being content with only being able to push like 105 on the bench rack or something like that. But ultimately, pleasing God and doing that at the end of the day, and he's going to take care of everything else in the long run. Like, he's going to help you get bigger. He's going to help you with developing your inner self, your inner person, to where you are able to receive the people that's going to come into your life, regardless of who they may be. And ultimately, he promises to grant you the desires of your heart. But one thing that he's going to do, he's going to mold those desires into those that he wants you to have. And that's probably the biggest lessons that he wants us to get, because his wants for us always is better than what we could want for ourselves, and that it'll always be that way. So yeah, that was today's spiel on desire, and just not despising where you are, and just loving yourself, man, because you're a beautiful, perfect creation, perfectly imperfect. But just keep building, keep developing who you are, and never give up on yourself. But yeah, much love to all of you guys, and I'm out.